This is a show with no particular niche, baby. It's always about hanging out. Maybe we'll laugh at some stuff, maybe we'll learn something new, but it's always about hanging out, me and you. Hi, hello, and welcome to That Thing with James, a podcast about nothing in particular. I'm your host, James. Hi, hello, how are you? What's up? If you're telling me how you are, please understand I can't hear you. This is a one-way conversation, but I'm trying to make it entertaining as possible. And that's why I jumped ship on the topic I originally had in my pocket for today's episode. Originally, I was going to talk about this theory that the universe that we know, that we see around us, is inside a black hole. Yes, you heard that right. There is a theory that our universe exists inside a black hole. And I read some of the articles about it, and it turns out, well, it's kind of probably bullshit. It's probably kind of bullshit. So starting, let's see, April, May, June, about 3 months ago, maybe 4 to 3 months ago, this topic started trending on social media that our universe might exist inside a black hole. And from what I read earlier this morning, hours ago before recording this, that topic was spurred by a new paper to come out by some computer scientist at like the state Kansas University. And really, it was exciting. And I'd been thinking about it. Okay, what if like we're a black hole within a black hole, yada, yada, yada. And that's how we travel through time space, is to get past the event horizon into a different universe. And my mind was going wild, wild, wild. And so were a lot of other people and some other articles. But then I read further articles, and it turns out that it's one of those things. It's one of those things where it's like, well, you can't disprove it, so you can't prove it's not true. But that's the case with a lot of the stuff, a lot of cosmology stuff. However, now that some time has passed and people have, other scientists have had the opportunity to spend time really looking at the details of this exciting paper that came out in spring or whatever, it turns out there's not enough research to even suggest that this theory could be flirted with. Now, this is not cosmologists closing their eyes and ears and saying, this does not fit with our current models, so we're rejecting it. That's not the case. Certainly, there are some scientists that are closed to any model but those they've made their bread on. However, outside of that, there are plenty of other cosmologists, etc., who are open to new models and would love to hear it, as long as it has the work behind it to give it some weight. And this paper about the universe that jumps to this conclusion, kind of like that guy in Office Space. You jump to a conclusion. That's kind of what this paper did at the end. Is it observed that a lot of galaxies spin, I believe it was clockwise, but then far out, they saw a not equal number, but a number of other galaxies spinning counterclockwise, spinning opposite the rest. And so it comes to this idea that's been around since the 70s, that the universe itself may be spinning, but there's not really any proof for or against that yet. It's just sort of like an open maybe. And this paper took that idea, this cosmic torsion idea, and said, well, this is proof that the cosmos is in torsion, it is twisting, it is spinning, and black holes spin. So, and we can't see beyond a certain point, so that could be an event horizon. And perhaps we're spinning, and perhaps things started spinning with the Big Bang because it happened within a black hole, or maybe it was a white hole that destabilized into a black hole, or maybe we exist within a stable white hole, even though they're extremely unstable and don't last very long. In short, the paper seems to jump to a pretty wild conclusion based on very, very limited test pool, on a very limited test pool. They looked at something like just under 300 galaxies, whereas there are much smaller theories that have examined way like thousands and thousands of galaxies. So at the end of the day, the paper has been deemed by some, not my words, other scientists, been deemed as sensationalist nonsense or sensationalist ideas with no backing up and certainly not enough work put behind it to what's the word? Not validate, to justify jumping to such a conclusion as suggesting that we exist within a black hole. And that, my friend, this is not a science show, although I do sometimes talk about science because I find it interesting. But that, friends, is what took me out of it. I was going to do this episode on that, and I just spent 5 damn minutes talking about that already. Why? Why? Because that's the way I tell stories, okay? You gotta buckle in and just ride with me. I'm not gonna give you the outline. We're not gonna meet this at 90-minute point, this at the 30-minute point, this at the 60-minute point, so on and so forth. Although we might, the tropes might be there, but they're hidden beneath layers and layers. We're going on a fucking journey. We're dark through the woods, and I have the lantern. I'm leading you to a point in which I will tell you that I'm not going to be talking about the universe existing in a black hole in this episode. That's not what this episode's about. I was going to take a break from the fan fiction kick I was on, because I've been doing fan fiction the past handful of episodes. And it's been a lot of fun, but, I was like, this could be exciting. And then I read the article and it made sense that, okay, this exciting thing is likely bullshit. And that just deflated me. That did not inspire excitement in me. So, instead, what I'm going to do for you in this episode is Seinfeld fan fiction. You heard it right, baby. I'm going to read some Seinfeld fan fiction. I've already got 2 pulled up and I've kind of skimmed over it. I kind of skimmed over it a little bit of quality control. I put a little bit of thought into the characters. I mean, I've just done this within the past 30 minutes. So who knows if I'm going to hit, stick the landing on the various leaps I'm going to take. But at least I'm not going to go so far as to suggest with so little research done that we exist within a black hole. Even though we could, but there's no evidence. It's not enough. Not enough there, baby. So instead, in the meantime, hop on over to patreon.com/thatthingwithjames. That's patreon.com/thatthingwithjames. And there you can become a patron for $5 and get 30 days of access for over, what is it, 200? Is it over 200? No. Over 120. Over 120 bonus episodes. Yes. And to those of you who are already patrons, thank you so much for supporting the show. You rock. And if you want to help support the show and get access to over 120 bonus episodes, you can do so by becoming a patron at patreon.com/thatthingwithjames. The link is written in the episode description, as well as the links to my show email, socials, and subreddit. What else? What else? What else? Audio listeners, this show's on YouTube. Go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in That Thing with James. My channel will pop up, and there you can hit subscribe and join. Finally, I've almost done this damn thing for 10 years, almost 10 years. And I was having a fucking pity party. I was going to have myself a little pity party in the intro, and instead I've got waylaid by some black hole stuff. And, instead of that, I've almost done this for 10 years, almost 10 years. Jesus Christ. And I'm almost 40. I'm going to be 40 in 2.5 years, just under half. And what I'm getting at is I finally got over 100 subscribers to my YouTube channel. Yeah. So anyway, Patreon, YouTube, all the things, do it, help. Let me get a sip of water, and then we're going to jump into some Seinfeld fan fiction. Be right back. We're going to start with an appetizer. This one is written by O_C on archiveofourown.org. This one was published in 2021, 11/07. Title, How I Seinfeld for You. An introspective analysis on the eroticism of the human spirit emulated through Seinfeld characters. Summary. If anybody asks, I never made this and you never read this. Symbiosis. So keep it secret. Keep it safe. We're going to share this. This is going to be our dirty little secret. I'll keep you my dirty little secret. Dirty little secret. Jerry sits alone in his apartment, thinking about his next routine. He grins, marveling at the material he hopes will in some way validate him. But Jerry feels inept, sorrowful even, like there isn't any real point to it. His life has become repugnantly dull. Help George with some arbitrary simple task, ignore his ever-present feelings for Elaine, entertain Kramer's insatiable lust for the inane, write another comedy routine, pursue yet another relationship with a girl he couldn't care less about. This was the formula for every day, every week, every month. The rest of his foreseeable future. Jerry had to face the facts. His life had become excruciatingly boring. Where has all the excitement gone? Jerry thought, twirling a pencil wistfully between his fingers. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. That's odd, Jerry thought aloud. He wasn't expecting company, and it couldn't be George or Elaine because they would have had to buzz in at the door. Must be Kramer. Yet as Jerry twisted the doorknob, pencil still clutched between the fingers of his free hand, he glanced upon something far different than the chiseled face of Kramer that he expected. A deep, smooth voice flowed through into the chasm of Jerry's ears and wrapped his mind in a warm, fluid embrace. Hello, Jerry. Jerry's heartbeat inexplicably increased pace. Sweat started to gather at the base of his fluffy, buoyant hair. Hello, Newman. For whatever reason, Jerry felt frozen in place, frozen in awe. Though he was simply in the presence of a rotund mailman, Jerry's body felt as if it were in the presence of an equally hefty demigod. What are you doing here, Newman? Jerry meagerly squeaked, hand closing tighter around his pencil. I'm here to deliver something, Jerry. Newman cooed, voice still soft in Jerry's ears. I didn't order a package, Newman, Jerry murmured, suspicion garnishing his mind. Newman was, after all, his nemesis. There could be nothing but ill intent behind his luscious, beady eyes. Oh, Jerry, I know, Newman whispered, wrapping his arms around Jerry, stout legs stretching so he could meet Jerry at eye level. This is a special delivery. Jerry could feel curvy rolls of fat pressing into his chest as he and Newman's faces met, lips locked in a lush electric embrace. Jerry lost control of his body. Ha, ha, legs trembling. Ha, ha, spine tingling. The kiss went on for what seemed like hours. Only the sound of Jerry's pencil hitting the ground managed to pierce the deafening silence. Newman pulled away, leaving his dear friend whimpering, longing for more. See you, Jerry. And just like that, the door creaked closed. The short, round, sweaty deity was gone. All Jerry could do was listen to his own shallow, excited breathing. This could be the new, exciting change of events he had been dreaming of. Notes. I'm so sorry. Comments. Jesus. Next comment. I never read this, but if I had to LMAO, probably would be my comment. The numerous ellipses really bring the whole thing together, LOL. Next comment. I'm a little drunk right now, and reading this made my night even better. Thank you so much for your service. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we'll get into today's feature. Be right back. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm excited. I don't know what to expect by this piece written by Sleepy Marvel titled The Black Sunglasses Summary. Jerry has an idea for a new comedy bit. Elaine has a confrontation with an ex-boyfriend. Kramer gets a penthouse for him. And what's the deal with those big red lifeguard chairs anyway? Let's just jump into it. I've always thought that about lifeguard chairs, you know? George said, matter-of-factly between bites of his sandwich. Jerry was telling him the beginning of a particularly funny stand-up bit and drinking his third consecutive cup of coffee, which is, hold up. Jerry doesn't even drink coffee. I don't even think he drinks tea. He doesn't do caffeine. He doesn't do alcohol. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't smoke. These are 4 marks of a fucking psychopath. That's my sidebar. Let's keep reading. Haha, it was a bit unusual as Jerry didn't typically drink coffee, but today he was feeling like tea wasn't just going to cut it. He was digging the extra caffeine anyways. They'd been in the coffee shop for almost 2 hours, but to George it only felt like a couple of minutes. And because he didn't have a job and didn't have a girlfriend, he was particularly invested in the lifeguards in Jerry's joke. Monk's Diner bustled with business around them. Sometimes it felt like all of George's good memories were in the coffee shop, sitting across from Jerry, talking trivial about things like lifeguards. Was that sad or profound? George figured it didn't matter either way. Really? Jerry asked, disbelievingly. Oh, terrible fucking word choice. Disbelievingly? Edging on laughter. He's like, I'm almost there. I might laugh. You really thought about that? Of course. And of course, George really had thought about that. Who hadn't thought about that? It was one of the biggest societal issues with the beach. Why did lifeguards get those big red chairs? What made them so special? It's outrageous. Of course, George exclaimed, throwing his hands up for effect. What do you think, I'm some kind of animal? I go to the beach, and I'm not even aware of the giant red clown chair and the ramifications of it. I promise you, Jerry. I've noticed. And I'm assuming, if not for the social contract you enter when you step onto a beach, you would confront the lifeguard. You'd tell him to share the chair? Sure I would, George said. What kind of lifeguard are you if you don't share the chair? It's a selfish one, Jerry. I'm telling you, Jerry. And use this for your bit. Lifeguards only care about looking like they've come, like there's some kind of messiah on their throne. George's voice raised to imitate the pitch of someone awestruck. Oh, look, there's a lifeguard. How big his chair is. He's so much better than us dirty sand-sitters. It's not right, Jerry agreed. His coffee was gone now, and he was thinking about getting another one. 4 coffees in one sitting wasn't bad, right? Kramer told him once that he'd survived on only coffee for an entire week. If Kramer could do it. Jerry decided he'd get a coffee for Elaine too, because she was meeting them there soon and she always took a long time to decide on her order. She knew what she wanted and she got the same thing every time, but she always perused the menu like maybe she was going to try something new, and she wasn't. She never did. Eventually, she'd want a coffee, and Jerry was going to make the whole situation easier for everyone involved by ordering it for her. And of course, telling her about her particularly bad habit wasn't an option. The chaos that would follow would be too outrageous to even fathom. If I were a life god, George continued, profoundly serious, I would insist on I would constantly be sharing the chair. And the beach lounging community would love me. They'd love me, Jerry. It would be groundbreaking. And George never got to find out if Jerry thought it was groundbreaking because Elaine appeared seemingly out of nowhere, sliding into the booth beside Jerry dressed in her work clothes. George, how could you possibly be a lifeguard if you drowned the moment you stepped in the water? Elaine was already laughing loudly at her own joke as she said this, very pleased with herself and very pleased with the reaction she got out of Jerry. If you get a comedian to laugh, that probably means you're very funny too, doesn't it? Elaine grinned. She really was very funny, wasn't she? Lovely, George said bitterly, almost in a pout. Oh, that's just great, Elaine. George, it was only a joke. Elaine was still laughing as she said this, leaning across the table for effect. I'm sure you can swim. Yeah, whatever. George snapped and waved her off. He finally got a good look at her as he did this, and did a double take. Huh? Jerry did a double take too. Huh? His significantly more comedic. His significantly more comedic. There was something off about Elaine. She was dressed the same as usual, all professional and businesslike, except for one glaring inconsistency. She was wearing dark black sunglasses. The kind that secret agents or mobsters wore sometimes. Jerry gaped. I hope the author is talking about his mouth. She looked more like an off-duty FBI agent than she did an assistant at an everyday New York publishing company. Elaine ignored them, trying not to act conspicuous, and called the waitress over to order her food. What was with the sunglasses? Bizarre. Elaine hummed and at the menu, all while Jerry made faces before finally deciding on the big salad, just like Jerry thought. He ordered her coffee too, despite her protests. George ended up deciding on a piece of chocolate cheesecake, despite the look Jerry was giving him. You know, Elaine, George was on the swim team in high school, Jerry said passively as the waitress left, causing George to cringe at the snipe out of nowhere. His mom would come down and cheer him on. It was all for his self-esteem. It was all great for his self-esteem. And sure, Jerry was supposedly defending his friend's ability to swim, but the high school swim team was a particularly dark period in George's life, and he'd rather not have Jerry discussing it with people, especially not Elaine. Elaine's eyes lit up, under the big black sunglasses, of course, delighted at this new information. Trust me, said George bitterly. That was the opposite of great for my self-esteem. I thank God every day that she didn't bring my father with her. Can you even imagine? I shudder to think about it. Elaine grinned, but with the sunglasses hiding the smile lines in her eyes, it was hard to tell if it was a happy grin or an evil, twisted grin at his expense. Probably both, George thought passively. Aw, George, Elaine teased. Your mommy came down to support you? That's so adorable, George groaned. Ugh. It was so far from adorable. He was certainly going to give Jerry an earful later for bringing it to Elaine's attention. Oh, don't tell me, Elaine. It was certainly not cute or adorable. My mom? Please. And what's with the sunglasses anyway? What are you, DB Cooper? Elaine gasped. This isn't about me, George. I'm pretty sure it's a part of the new FBI Sheiks. Oh, sorry, wrong character. I'm pretty sure it's part of the new FBI Chic spring collection, Jerry joked, grinning, and Elaine hit him in the arm. It was probably meant to be playful, but Elaine was a lot stronger than she realized, and Jerry always ended up rubbing his arm in pain after one of her so-called playful hits. Ha ha, Elaine drawled sarcastically. Jerry, you're hilarious. I try. Jerry shrugged innocently, looking far too pleased with himself. Soon, Elaine's big salad came, followed by George's slice of chocolate cheesecake, and shortly thereafter followed by Elaine's mug of coffee. And of course, Jerry forgot to order another one for himself. Whatever, he'd just sip at Elaine's while she wasn't looking. The waitress disappeared back into the abyss of the bustling coffee shop. George watched her go. He'd never seen the inside of the diner's kitchen. It always made him think of a Twilight Zone episode. Maybe there was no kitchen. Maybe the waitresses were slipping into a black abyss and only returning to bring them food and drinks. He'd have to bring his theory to Jerry's attention later. He took a bite of cheesecake. Elaine began her big salad. George glanced up at her and then back down at his cheesecake, then back up again. He made a face. There's no sun in here. Take off your sunglasses, George said absent-mindedly, like it was the most obvious thing in the world, because it was. Who wears sunglasses inside? It's unnatural. Elaine glared immediately. Excuse me? She bit out, glowering. George could tell by her voice that he'd said something wrong. He was very good at telling when a woman thought that he'd said something wrong, but he wasn't sure what. Jerry quickly put his hands up in mock surrender. He wasn't getting involved. No way. Nuh-uh. What? What did I say? George asked, incredulous. I'm not taking off my glasses, George, Elaine pressed, clearly agitated. So just drop it, okay? Okay, geez, George said quickly, not enjoying being on the receiving end of one of her glares, even if it was through big dark sunglasses. It was just a suggestion anyway. Jerry narrowed his eyes at Elaine's dark, big sunglasses, and maybe George could let this go reluctantly, but he certainly wouldn't. She just looked so goofy. He needed to know, why would she wear sunglasses indoors where there's no sun? It made him think about how Secret Service agents always wore dark sunglasses indoors. What was the deal with that anyway? Did they think that someone was going to try to assassinate the president with UV rays? Cue rimshot in audience laughter. Jerry changed his mind. He was definitely getting involved. A valid suggestion, Jerry added, but the suspicion in his voice was bordering on humorous. In fact, if you don't take the sunglasses off, I'm gonna think you're hiding something. Elaine rolled her eyes. Oh, come on. Seriously, Jerry? Black sunglasses are one of the most suspicious accessories, George agreed. You know, Elaine pointed a forkful of lettuce toward George accusingly. What's that you know. Oh, that's what she said. What's that supposed to mean? George countered. Elaine shrugged. Elaine, what? Jerry took this chaotic moment as an opportunity to try to snatch the black sunglasses away from the brunette with the acid tongue. George sighed in his defeat as the two started an all-out brawl opposite him in the booth. It didn't matter, because now he was too busy overthinking about Elaine's comment to care about the scene they were causing. Take off the glasses, Elaine. Hey, stop, Jerry, what are you doing? What are you hiding? Jerry, take them off. Clank. The sunglasses clattered against the table in front of them, revealing that Elaine's eye was crawling with black and blue. Jerry and George gawked. Elaine was glowering back at them. Are you happy now? I don't have the sunglasses on. The awful suspicious sunglasses, and I have a black eye. Look, everybody, I have a black eye, Elaine declared to the restaurant. A few people glanced over, but mostly nobody cared. Great! Now everyone cares. Everyone knows. Whoa, Jerry said, mouth hanging open in an almost comedic shock. Ugh. What are you getting in fistfights now, Laney? Lane shot him a dirty look, clearly not in the mood for his jokes. Oh my God, George blinked, shocked, totally forgetting about the slice of cheesecake in front of him. Elaine's comment and the big red lifeguard chairs. He forgot about all of it. What had him so upset about that again? What? That doesn't make sense. Hold on. I need to take a sip of water. Just a second. Oh my God. George blinked, shocked, totally forgetting about the slice of cheesecake in front of him, Elaine's comment, and the big red lifeguard chairs. What had him so upset about that again? Are you okay? Jerry asked tentatively. He wasn't the best comforter. Or was that a blanket? He wasn't the best at comforting people, that's it. More importantly, George said slowly with the same hesitance, whoever did that to you, you didn't kill them, did you? George, Elaine started, exasperated. She scoffed. Please. There's witnesses. George glanced around the diner nervously again, and suddenly it appeared much busier than ever. Oh, God, people see me with you. I don't know her, George declared to the restaurant, standing up beside the booth and practically frantic. I've never seen this woman in my entire life. A lot of people were looking at them now, more than before, and oh God, everyone was going to see Elaine's black eye and think she was some kind of lunatic street fighter. She hid her face with her hand for good measure, clearly embarrassed. George continued to cause a scene. Jerry thought about his lifeguard bit and his FBI agent bit and seemed particularly unaffected by the situation altogether. Elaine whacked at George's arm, trying to get him to sit back down. Sit down! Everyone's looking at us. Fine, George agreed, with a huff of resignation. But if the cops show up asking about this whole situation, you'd better tell them I wasn't involved. I'm not going to prison, okay? Fine, Elaine said, waving him off. God, just calm down. I didn't kill him. What? Him? You're fighting men? Jerry, who had previously been absorbing the entire situation with a sort of idle amusement, decided to get to the bottom of the entire Elaine has a black eye debacle. Okay, so what happened? Elaine sighed, exasperated, and then shot into her story. Well, I was walking down into the newsstand with Kramer to get a penthouse for him. Why were you buying Kramer a penthouse for him? George interrupted, curious. It's a long story, okay? Relax. So anyway, I was taking Kramer to the newsstand, and there was my ex-boyfriend just standing there like he didn't dump me and leave me alone in the aquarium at 10 at night. Do you remember that? Jerry nodded. Tom Powers. You thought the sharks somehow could understand English, and they were internally laughing at your admittedly hilarious situation. Elaine ate another forkful of her salad. Exactly. I saw Tom, and I didn't want to talk to him, so I was hiding behind Kramer. And Kramer thought we were doing some sort of bit, so he started acting really strange, even for Kramer. He was moving his arms like this. Elaine started exaggeratingly flinging her arms back and forth like somebody jogging while standing. I can picture the scenario very clearly, Jerry said, drinking his coffee. You're an exceptionally good narrator, Elaine. Why, thank you. Anyway, Kramer was acting like a total whack job, and Tom was looking straight at us. And then he called Kramer a freak. Can you believe that, Jerry? Our Kramer? Oh, I can definitely believe that. So I stepped out from behind Kramer, and I got up in the jerk's face. I said, who do you think you are to call him a freak? Who the hell do you think you are? Because let me tell you, this freak happens to be my husband, and he's a lot better than you ever were, especially in bed. Wait, they're married? What? George's jaw dropped, completely floored by her story. Whoa, you said that? What came over you? What do you mean? Elaine said. as if that was the most natural thing in the world. You'd let someone just insult one of us and get away with it? I'd. Oh, wait. What do you mean? You'd let someone insult. Okay, that was her. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Now to George. I'd join in if it kept me from getting hit, George said seriously. Elaine gave him a look. Jerry nodded understandingly. Well, I'm not you, George. And anyway, what gives Tom the right to call Kramer a freak? Only we can call Kramer a freak, and only when he's acting freakish. What happened next? Jerry asked, still drinking her coffee. Well, Elaine said, and she was already scoffing in disbelief. My ex said the reason he wasn't good in bed was because I was just so bad at that, and he couldn't perform, which, Jerry, you can attest, is not true. I could swear in front of a judge if I had to. Exactly, Elaine said, because it was just so obvious she absolutely knew it. So I told him that the reason he couldn't perform had nothing to do with me. Maybe if he had something to work with down there, he'd actually be able to do something with it. Elaine looked particularly pleased with her comeback, and she was really glad she had the chance to tell somebody about it. She could be very clever when she wanted to be, she thought. Probably cleverer than most. Cleverer? Cleverer? You're using that word? Elaine smiled to herself at that and ate a forkful of her big tomatoes and big cucumbers. It being his, Jerry began to clarify. Yes. Oh my God, Elaine, you insulted his, George continued in awe. Yes. Jerry wasn't even trying to hide the fact that he was drinking Elaine's coffee now. So then what? Who hit you? He did. Can you believe it, Jerry? What a psycho. Well, what did Kramer do? Jerry said, signaling to the waitress to refill his coffee. This was coffee number what now? He had no idea. I assume he defended your honor? He didn't get the chance, Elaine exclaimed as the waitress refilled the mug. Tom just took off like a lunatic, probably afraid of my husband was going to kill him. Kramer looks kind of scary when you don't know him, doesn't he? Anyway, can you believe Tom gave me a black eye? George was still looking at her suspiciously. I'm still not convinced he didn't kill him. So he just hit you? Jerry asked in disbelief. Out of the blue? Not out of the blue, Jerry, Elaine said, pointing her fork at him now. Were you not listening? I insulted his right, Jerry said. But still, what kind of guy hits a woman, especially over something like that? One time my girlfriends called me a hack, a no-good deadbeat comedian. You don't see me punting her into the sun over it. George agreed immediately. One time a woman told me I was the absolute worst sex she ever had. She told me she wished she could have killed herself just before she ever met me so she wouldn't have to go through with it. I didn't even care. I dated her for 3 more weeks after that. Exactly. It's a good thing I didn't continue to go out with him. He's probably a wife-beater type. Elaine glanced at her watch. It was slightly past noon, and she needed to get back to work before she was late. And she was not prepared to hide her black eye from her coworkers. Anyway, I'm wearing these sunglasses so nobody at work thinks I had a domestic or something. I'll see you guys later. Elaine left soon after that, getting in at least one more riff about George's being on the swim team on her way out. Jerry and George continued their discussion about lifeguards after that, because Jerry didn't have to do shows until later that night, and George didn't have a job and didn't have a girlfriend, and so sitting in the diner with Jerry was the highlight of his day. Later that day, George was in Jerry's apartment, making himself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Are we obligated to beat him up over this? George asked out of the blue, dreading the whole situation. George hated fights. Back in high school, he hid in the band loft for hours just to avoid one particularly angry senior boy. I feel like we're obligated. George only met Tom once, but he was a big guy, wasn't he? Oh, God. What was the protocol in this situation like this? Jerry was sitting across the room on the couch, writing down his bit about FBI agents. What's the deal with FBI agents anyway? Why are they always wearing those black sunglasses? Is it a fashion statement or is it mandatory? We're definitely obligated, Jerry replied very seriously. A guy talks bad to your girl, you get in their face and yell at them. Really let them have it, you know. You're not, however, obligated to beat them up. There's an optional beat up, but no obligation. Right, George said, hesitantly, listening to the gospel of societal code from Jerry. He put the top piece of bread on his sandwich and was very proud with himself. It was a perfect sandwich, George thought. He really did have a talent for making sandwiches. He should be on a cooking show. Who else makes a sandwich this perfect? George thinks no one. Right. But if a guy hits your girl, then 9 out of 10 times you're required to beat the guy up, Jerry continued matter of fact. It's just the rules. 9 out of 10? If the guy happens to be bigger than you, you're still supposed to hit him. But if you want to be a pussy, if you want to pussy out, then that's allowed. George groaned and threw his hands up exasperated. He was not in the mood to get in a fight. Not now, not ever. Not even for Elaine. Well, Elaine's not your girlfriend anymore, George exclaimed, panicking. And she's certainly not mine, so she's our only female friend. It counts, Jerry fired back like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I don't think she wants us to, George defends, sitting on the arm of Jerry's couch now, eating his perfect sandwich. Wouldn't that be considered anti-feminist? Elaine would be madder if we didn't. You know how feminists get mad when you hold the door open for them, but they're even madder when you don't. What's the problem happening? That's what's happening here. Of course, hopefully it's not the writer who's got a problem with feminism, although the characters are a little bit anti-feminist, you know. Fine, then we'll threaten him, but no fight. No fight, Jerry agreed. Definitely no fight. Okay, good. George really dreaded this. He really, really dreaded this. But if Jerry wanted to go threatening some big guy, then he supposed he would go do it too. That's what friends do, right? Want a bite of my sandwich? No. What's your problem? Hey, it's a perfect sandwich, Jerry. I know you want to try it. I definitely don't. Yeah. Let me take another sip. I need more liquid. Hold on. Oh, George, what happened to you? Elaine asked the next day. They were sitting back in the diner, this time waiting for Kramer to get back from his water aerobics class. And oh God, what was Kramer doing that for? George was pouting now, sporting a black eye of his own. They were in the booth by the window this time, and they all waited in a brief, awkward silence as the waitress dropped off their food. Your ex-boyfriend, that's what, George exclaimed as soon as the waitress was out of earshot. He punched me. Tom? Elaine asked, caught off guard, shaking out a salt shaker on the table in front of her. She was clearly not invested in George has a black eye gate. Why did he do that? She wondered, still messing with the salt shaker. Ask Jerry, George exclaimed, pointing at Jerry accusingly. He's the one who got me into this mess. What? Don't try to involve me in this, Jerry defended. Oh, you're involved all right. He was aiming for Jerry, you know. He just jumped out of the way and that bastard Tom Powers hit me right in the face. What? What are you talking about? Elaine said. Why the hell were you talking to him? We were defending your honor. What makes you think I want that? Elaine groans, dropping her head into her hands. This whole situation was getting so messy. Jerry said, George began. I have no idea what he's talking about, Elaine, Jerry insisted. Jerry said it was an obligation. Elaine groans loudly, head still in her hands. Jerry and George really had 0 brain cells left between the two of them, she thought. Thanks a lot, Curly and Mo, Elaine said. Real helpful. Suddenly, Kramer barreled into Monk's diner, tripping over his feet and clearly dazed, sporting a black eye of his own. Kramer, what happened? What's wrong, Kramer? I was defending your honor, Elaine. I really let him have it, Kramer announced, looking up around his head almost as if he was staring at little cartoon birds that nobody else could see. Tom, at water aerobics. He clocked me. George was still annoyed and still pouting, but now he was intrigued as well. What does this guy just go around punching people randomly? Out of all the guys in New York, Elaine had to date Mike Tyson? Hey, Jerry said. Now when people ask why you have a black eye, you can say you're all in a secret underground fight club together. Shut up, George pouted and huffed out of the diner. He'd be back again the next day, sitting across from Jerry and talking about something trivial like lifeguards, and the next day too, because these are some of the only good memories anyway. Whew. It's so hot. That's the end of that story. It is so hot in my apartment. It's so hot outside. I don't want it to be this goddamn hot. Oh. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. I've got a lot more stuff, a lot different stuff on the bonus episodes. You can check them out at patreon.com/thatthingwithjames. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye.